I understand how it can be really easy to dog on and rag on Kirk Cousins. Because it can be. He can be a bit of a polarizing quarterback. Some people look at him and say he could put up some pretty nice numbers. He's not that bad. He's certainly better than more than half the starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. To which I would not really argue against that point. It's true. Those are valid takes. It can also be said that in a lot of the big-time pressure spots, big moments against key opponents, primetime games, etc., even though he had a flash or two in 2019 where he was better, historically hasn't been very good, and he's not that level of dude. You might want him to be. He's more like the franchise quarterback you got than really actually being the quarterback that lifts up and elevates your franchise, if that makes sense. You can pretend him to be and wish him to be the franchise quarterback, but he's not. And that is also true. And a couple of years ago, it was a big splashy thing after Bruce Allen botched the thing horribly with Kirk Cousins, and the Redskins mangled it. Kirk Cousins eventually hit free agency, and lo and behold, he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. And they gave him a 3-year, $84 million contract, most notable because it was all guaranteed money. Now, Kirk Cousins making history, telling everybody in the league, you like that? And I think a lot of players did. Let's get more guaranteed money, and I certainly would support that. And I'm not here to hate on Kirk Cousins for getting as much money as he felt he could possibly get in the open market. You put your services out there, other teams bid on it. This is the bid you got. That's the one you took. Set yourself up for life. Good for you. But I think Vikings fans will certainly feel like over the 2 years of Kirk Cousins being there in Minnesota, 2018, him and the team gagged badly in Week 17 at home against a Bears team that had really nothing effectively to play for, where all the Vikings had to do was win and they were in, and they didn't get the job done. Now you turn around to 2019, and he started off the season so horribly bad, and it was so clear the team was trying to hide their quarterback. Like, they were so conservative and so built around offensively the running game and so focused on the running game. Like, it was hurting Diggs, it was hurting Thielen, it was hurting the offense of the team as a whole. But as they started to back off a little bit, Kirk Cousins got into a little bit of a better rhythm, had some moments in a primetime game or two where he wasn't as bad as he had been historically. Certainly wasn't great in that wild card round game against the Saints in the Superdome, but made a couple of key throws when his team needed him. Some might say, well, Mahomes wasn't great in the Super Bowl, but he made some plays when he had to. That's what a great quarterback does. Certainly, the true greats are not going to be great all the time. That's not what makes them great. It is when they can rise to the moment and the occasion and be great when they're not at their best. But do you really see other flashes of greatness out of Kirk Cousins? I mean, let's be realistic here. And then when you go to the divisional round, you go to San Francisco, then reality kind of sets in. So, the Vikings made the playoffs, won a surprise playoff game on the road that really nobody was picking them to win. Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins, Vikings organization, there was credit for that. But knowing coming into this offseason, it's a team really up against the salary cap, have a lot of big decisions to make, and you can tell they've made a lot of big decisions. They've been cutting guys, letting guys go in free agency, trading away Stephon Diggs for several draft picks. Necessary decisions, important decisions, potentially controversial decisions, but some of them are tough decisions that did have to be made. But the one decision I didn't expect for them to make right now was to give Kirk Cousins more time on his deal. But they did. Didn't they give him 2 more years of $65 million, $66 million, whatever the hell it was? They gave him a raise when he still had a year left on his contract. Why? Why? And based off of the way that that's going to be structured, you're not going to cut him now, certainly. You're not going to be able to cut him after 2020, and not going to be able to cut him after 2021. So the Vikings, for some inexplicable reason, after trading away one of his top targets in the passing game, losing several players on the defensive side of the ball, have decided that they want to tie themselves at the leg with Kirk Cousins for another 3 seasons. Why? I just don't get it. What does Kirk Cousins represent to the Minnesota Vikings that is so special that you are worried about him going into 2020 in a contract year? What, are you afraid he's going to light it up? Are you afraid he's going to have an MVP level season? Well, if that's the case, then good. If anything, it makes it a lot easier for you to commit more money to him even over a longer period of time if he was to do so. But instead, it feels like the Vikings are trying to jump the shark here a little bit. And again, that kind of irrational fear of, well, what happens if he has a big season? What happens? And I understand we're talking about business. It's all about mitigating risk management, and making decisions informed based off of risk and risk principles, etc. But to me, this just doesn't make much sense. You're already paying this guy a lot of guaranteed money, and he's not that level of dude. Now you want to continue to hinder your organization for the next few years instead of drafting and developing a young quarterback, which ultimately is the best and most established form of way to success for an NFL team in today's league, in today's game. You go against the grain by paying somebody else's former draft pick who was an average to slightly above average quarterback. And I'm not just trying to make this a hit piece on Kirk Cousins, because he's not a bad quarterback. He is infinitely better than Mitchell Trubisky. Period. No question. Might be some argument. I might take him over Stat Padford. He might be the second best quarterback in the NFC North. Good God, how sad that is. But what I just can't understand the infatuation with feeling the urgency for a team that was already up against some trouble in the terms of the salary cap, and as a result, you saw some of the moves they had to make, why they then wanted to sit there and eat up into future salary cap space for a guy that has shown you in 2 years that he wasn't the difference. He wasn't the dude to get you over the hump. He hasn't made it back in 2 seasons to the level of where you got with Case Keenum in 2017. He hasn't. You didn't pay Case Keenum $30+ million damn dollars, justifiably so. And while yes, again, Cousins is a better quarterback than Case Keenum, that also doesn't mean that you pay Kirk Cousins $30+ million a year. It doesn't mean you tie yourself to him like he's a freaking anchor weighing down your boat, your ship, for another 3 damn years. Why would you do that? You had no reason to do that. There's no incentive to do that, especially if you could have leveraged the franchise tag or a transition tag after the 2020 season, especially if you played well. Could have created leverage. Could have given yourself options. Could have let things play out. But instead, you've chosen to tie yourself to a guy that when it gets to nut cutting time and you need that dude to be that dude, he's not going to be that dude. Now, transparently, the vast majority of the quarterbacks in the league don't have that capability, including some that we think of that are a lot better than Kirk Cousins, who have the same number of rings as Kirk Cousins. But to me, this is the type of move that a good second-rate organization makes. The Vikings are a good, solid organization, but they are second-rate. Whereas the Lions or the Bears are third-rate, and the Lions are like third-rate Part B, and the Packers are on that borderline of a first-rate organization. Makes sense if you're the Packers to pay a future first-ballot Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, a crap ton of money. It does not make sense to pay a second to third rate quarterback by comparison, in Kirk Cousins a crap ton of money. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Or maybe the Vikings will go 7-9 this year, and this deal will look really, really ridiculous, especially when you realize they can't get out from under it after this season. Understand when you mitigate risk. But why put yourself in a potentially disadvantageous situation if you don't need to? Why bid against yourself if you don't have to? Why rush the clock when it's not the prudent thing to do? It could have waited, and for some reason, the Vikings organization said, Skull! We want to give them even more money for more years!